Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. I'm Wade Mathews, the manager of Be Ready Utah, and the host today. Also joining me are Anna Boynton, an outreach specialist and the tribal liaison for our tribal nations here in Utah, and Bryan Stinson, an outreach specialist, both with Be Ready Utah as well, so it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about sheltering. So, how long can we live without food?
Without food?
3 to 4 days, right?
Well, 3 to 4 weeks.
Weeks.
3 to 4 weeks without
Yes.
food, yeah?
I can only go with 3 to 4 days myself, but some of us 3 to 4 weeks. But water, how about water? How long can we live without water?
That's only 3 to 4 days.
Okay, there we go. But most importantly, how long do we live without shelter in extreme conditions? Yeah.
That could be 3 to 4 hours, I would say.
Yeah, if you're out there, the wind's blowing crazy, and you're only t-shirt and shorts, you're not going to last any more than 3 to 4 hours. And it's the same thing at the other extreme. If it's 100 plus degree temperatures, sun's out there blaring, and t-shirt and shorts, you're going to get sunburned. You're going to dehydrate. You could expire in 3 to 4 hours as well.
So the point here is, for emergency preparedness, we think a lot about food and water storage. We think a lot about our disaster supply kits, but we often overlook the importance of sheltering in our emergency planning, right? And whether it's for the extreme conditions, hot or cold, or whether it's for our home that's damaged, or whether it's for other emergency threats that might be outside. And so we need to be thinking about preparedness in that respect for shelter as well. But today we're going to talk about the cold and hot extremes.
Okay.
Right? So you talked about already the extreme cold temperatures. What are some key things that we need to be remembering in planning for emergency preparedness for the cold weather?
Well, one thing you want to think about, sheltering is all about maintaining your body's temperature. So when it is cold, you've got to do things that holds the heat into your body. And your first line of defense is the stuff that you're wearing. It's your clothing. You probably want to have, in cold weather, you want to have a 3-layer system. You want to have a base layer next to your skin that's like synthetic fiber clothing. Wool is a really good one, and they have a lot of base clothing that's made out of wool. And one of our readers from our social media, she even talked about, she knows about silk base layers. So you want to have something in that base layer that wicks or pulls the moisture away from your body. If that moisture is next to your skin, if that moisture is next to your skin when it's cold out there and it evaporates then, what does it do when we sweat and it evaporates? It cools us off.
Yeah.
So we don't want that to happen in the cold. So that base layer pulls moisture away from your skin. The next layer is a multi-layer system of just different layers of clothing that traps air next to your body, because the air is a really bad conductor of heat. So when you have multiple layers of clothing, it traps multiple layers of air, and it helps hold that heat.
Yeah, the insulation.
Insulates.
It becomes insulation.
Yeah, it insulates insulates and holds the heat next to you.
So it could be a really good insulator of heat too, depending on the circumstances.
Right. So, and actually, in following that line of reasoning, multiple smaller layers is better than one big bulky layer. Because how many times are we're working outside something, get really hot, we take off our coat, and now it's too cold. So we put our coat back on, now it's too hot. So multiple little layers allows us to regulate that to our own comfort leul. And then you're fun. Did you have something on?
No, I was going to say, yeah. The top layer, though, that's the protector from the wind, from the rain, the water, the snow. So that's that top layer is that protective layer.
Yeah, you want to have something maybe a little breathable, but something that blocks the wind, blocks the rain from getting in there and getting those inner layers wet, and pulling that heat away from you as well. So if you have a 3-layer system with your clothing, that's a really good way of being warm in cold temperatures.
And the convenience is, as you get hot, as you get warmer, you take a layer off. You can keep taking layers off, adding layers on, depending on what the temperature, with the fluctuation of the temperature. Now, Anna, we were talking a little bit before about what we can do at home. Determining what part of the house, maybe a warmer part of the house, and how to test that. You did something. Tell us a little bit about what you
I think
did.
it's important to know our environment, and we're at home most of the time. We have a very good convenience of having temperature control, but what about when that goes out and we're vulnerable to the temperatures? No more air conditioning or central air. And
the furnace.
The furnace
is
in every room, a balanced same temperature throughout all your rooms. So cut that out even try it for 24 hours in the extreme part of the season and get to know your home. Which room is going to be the coolest? Which one will be the warmest? Will it be the one at the south end of the house with the large windows? Is that the place you want to be when it's cold outside and you don't have heat? And then vice versa. For a hot day, find out which of your rooms is cooler. Which one is on the north side? Is there a room that has shade, maybe a bush or a tree that's growing over the house? And kind of get familiar with your temperatures that way. And then you can even more so use things like your clothing to layer and accommodate to your body heat, maintaining your body heat.
Something else in wintertime that you can do indoors is you're testing that out, or the furnace is out, the power's out, the gas line is disrupted, whatever the reason. Set up a dome tent inside the living room.
Yes.
Like a shelter within a shelter can give you, exactly, that extra insulation again, kind of like layering, right? Same thing with our clothing. It's a layering system inside the house, and you get everybody inside the dome tent, conserve that body heat, and that will keep you warmer in those extreme cold conditions when the furnace isn't working.
And this one too, I think, can be a lot of fun for the family. If you have the kids or the grandkids over, build the room in the room with the kids and kind of experiment with that, because the kids will enjoy it and it will be a great teaching lesson for them. So.
And you wanted to talk a little bit about fire, right? The importance of fire in maintaining our body heat.
Well, fire is just one of those all-around really important skills that can help us survive anything. You can use fire for heat. I mean, we're talking about that right now. Obviously, fire is hot. Yeah. You can also use it for light. Exactly. Use fire for light. We've got to be able to see for safety. Mm-hmm. So fire is something, when we think about candles, one disclaimer, always use fire safety whenever having an open flame.
Open flame, right.
Right. So we use it for light. We can use it for cooking, warming up our food. We can use it for boiling water and making water that's of questionable nature, making it safe to use. We can also use it for safety, against wild animals. Have it on a stick, something as a deterrent for wild animals. And you can also use it for signaling. If you remember back to our communications PrepCast, we talked about the signal of threes. If you're in a bad way out in the middle of a wilderness, don't just have one campfire, have them in a triangle of three, so you can see fire. So you can see that means I'm in distress. But fire is a very important skill, so learn how to make fire in different conditions with different resources and different ignition sources. Know that skill for emergency preparedness.
Match, lighters, flint and steel, battery, all those different methods. And if you haven't learned or ever started a fire before, is it a good idea to wait until a disaster occurs to figure that out and learn? No, let's go start a fire now. Right? Let's go practice safely.
Safely.
Go start a fire now. If you need someone to teach it, get your local Boy Scout troop. They would love to come and teach you how to start a fire, how to build a fire, right? And use that in emergencies and non-emergencies. I think we're going to talk about a little bit more of the sheltering in the extreme heat in the next part. So we're going to wrap this up. We're about out of time now. But stay tuned for our part 2 of sheltering. We're going to talk more about how to shelter in the extreme heat. And again, you can see all of our episodes on our Be Ready Utah YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Hey, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. Like what you're seeing? Have a question about anything related to emergency preparedness? Or do you have a comment about something you've learned as you make a plan or get a kit? We'd love to hear from you. Comment or reply to us on Twitter or Facebook at Be Ready Utah with hashtag BRUPrepCast or in the comments on YouTube. We'll talk about it on one of the next episodes of the Be Ready Utah PrepCast. Don't forget to share these videos and your own adventures in preparedness with your friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers, because anytime is a good time to talk about emergency preparedness. See you next time.